Hey everybody, this is Josh Rhodes, your host with the most here on the Retro Monster Truck Review. Just wanted to pop in here real quick, as always, and thank everybody for your subscriptions on YouTube, as well as the likes and the comments. They mean a lot to us over here. Also, we want to say thank you for the follows on Spotify, the downloads on Spotify, the downloads over on iTunes as well, and of course those 5-star reviews on iTunes. They really do help us push this product out there for everybody. I really want to say at the beginning of this show, this is one of the most spectacular moments that happened in monster truck racing up to this point in history. We're back at Columbus. This is day number 2 from 1988. Y'all are going to want to stick around for this one, that's for sure. Before we get into it, though, I have something I need to tell everybody. Right now, as far as this podcast goes, the future is kind of up in the air after the first of the year. I recently was hired to be a tech official on Stadium Tour Red for Monster Jam this coming year in 2022. I'm not going to have enough time at any time, really, to sit and edit and put a show together to be released weekly at that point. Like I said, future's up in the air with this show. Just wanted to let everybody know at the beginning of this one that, hey, next few weeks might be the last episode you see for a little while. Without any further ado, not to end it on a sad note right there, I know I'm saying something, hey, this show might not come back for a little while, but hey, you're here to listen to the Retro Monster Truck Review. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. We're going to get right down to Columbus, Ohio, 1988, day number 2. Like I said, one of the most spectacular moments in monster truck history happens right here. Stay tuned. Welcome again, one and all, to the Retro Monster Truck Review. This week, day number 2 from Columbus in 1988. And I got to tell you, Matt, this show produces one of, if not the most played monster truck highlights ever.
June 4th, 1988, Columbus, Ohio. A day that will live in infamy.
That it will. For day number 2, of course, we are covering a Challenge of Power broadcast. However, this one aired much later. The original episode, I'm not sure if it's lost to time or what, but the original 1988 broadcast not out there for at least me to see.
Yeah, I've got it on my drive. It's unfortunately such bad quality that I just can't bring myself to upload it. And there's a lot missing from it too. It's not that different from the one that we're watching here, which aired on the syndicated show Wheel Power. And they would kind of update these shows throughout the years. The Victory Films folks would. And this actually aired, the capture we're watching here on YouTube in pieces on the Mr. Bones YouTube channel. It aired in 2000 when they were still doing Wheel Power in syndication on networks across the USA. So old school monster truck racing available on your local cable provider back then, which was pretty cool. I remember going on monstertrucks.net back in the day and seeing the TV listings. I'm like, what is this Wheel Power show? Well, years later, I find out.
Yep. One thing to point out, too, with the intro to this show, you can definitely tell it aired at a later date because we see clips of Hollywood Hogan right before its end-over-end rollover. A shot I don't think I've ever seen a digger number 7 popping up into a wheel stand and riding down. It looks like on Virginia Beach.
Yeah,
that happened.
That's a Thunder on the Beach in Wildwood with Dennis
Wildwood.
Freestyle, and yeah, number 7. And we're starting the show off here. Man, I thought they were going to break into the Jay Giles band with Freeze Frame because they're doing the camera clicks there. It sounds kind of similar. And we introduced Power Pack Motorsports from Victory Film Productions.
That we did. This event, though, for a number of years when I was a kid, I swear to God, I saw this event somewhere. I remembered the main portion, the beginning of this show, where you saw Madman coming towards the camera, obviously the crowd in the background. I distinctly remember this being on one of my VHS tapes. When I got older, though, the only conclusion that I could think of is that my mother had recorded over it. I didn't get to see this again until years later, until the invention of YouTube came out and this show eventually got uploaded. And when I finally saw it, I was like, I know I wasn't crazy. I knew this happened. Didn't know anything about this event. It was, like I said, it wasn't until years later until my grandmother actually ordered, I believe it was for my birthday, the Crash Impact that came out on VHS. It was a 2-tape set. It also came with a VHS called Havoc 1. you get a chance, go watch that. That is some excellent, excellent stuff about Formula One, rally car racing, everything in there. The second tape on the Crash Impact that I had started off with the Mighty Monster Trucks, and it was set to Dio's Rainbow in the Dark. Main
Yes.
main reason that I remember that whole thing was that song, but if I remember correctly, the ending clip is this moment that we're going to have right here in Columbus 88 on the Crash Impact Monster Truck section. I wish all the Crash Impacts that I've seen, Matt, have been uploaded to YouTube. None of them are this, mainly because all of this had copyrighted music into it.
Yeah, it's copyrighted music. Things were a little different in the 90s when those tapes were made. And on top of that, you've got Duke Video, who is a distributor for those Crash Madness videos nowadays. They have all their stuff kind of in the algorithm already. So if anything from their videos pops up on YouTube, they get a copyright block. So you can't even host it on your channel to show. Sometimes the web crawlers pick it up. The episode we're watching here, it's so old, I guess it's not subject to that, and it never really got triggered. So that's good news for us watching along here on the Retro Monster Truck Review. We at least get to see the event as it happened, but I know if I tried to upload this now, it would probably not work out the same. It would probably catch it and not allow me to post. So thanks to Mr. Bones 12 years ago for putting this up there. And
Exactly.
we're at least getting to watch along here as we analyze this second night in Columbus. And at this point, man, Gene Patterson's got to be riding on a Rocky Mountain high after taking the win the night before.
That he is. One thing too, real quick, you said Mr. Bones did this episode last time we were in Columbus. That episode was from Pulling Reference. We didn't actually get to mention that on the show. I want to get that out there. If you want to go watch that
Yeah.
Pulling Reference YouTube channel, check that out. Very good quality.
Dan Mayer puts up a lot of great stuff. That's Pulling Reference on his channel. And Mr. Bones, I think it's Zach Proterra that put those on his channel. And Night One's on his channel as well if you want to watch the wheel power version, which we mentioned on our Night One analysis, where it's cut up a little bit different, and you can kind of see some of the differences there if you want to compare for yourself. Something I like to do as a complete monster truck video nerd.
That it is very, very true. Qualifying, we only get one time shown, Matt, and that, of course, is of Steve Hess's Nightmare, clocking at a 14.33, well over a second faster than Gene Patterson the day before in Bigfoots from qualifying.
Yeah, and the full Challenge of Power version does have some qualifying on it, and there's nothing super of note here, the qualifying, so we're just going to kind of get into the racing as we see it here that we can link you to and watch along with us in the first round. Well, let's go through the lineup again, Josh, in case the folks didn't listen to the last show.
All the trucks come back for day number 2. Of course, we've got Scott Hess over there in Hercules number 2. John Kwasniewski over in Buffalo Tremor. Bob Breen back in Wild Hair. Kid Rarig is listed as the driver here of Madman, even though Tom Bites drove the day before. Not sure what's going on here. Gene Patterson over in Bigfoot number 6. Steve Hess Nightmare 2. Dan Tassone in Star Monster. Dale Hancock over in Crimson Crusher. John Breen in Mad Dog. And rounding out our field, Matt, is Dale Hassel in the Ohio Earthshaker.
For 1988, it's a strong lineup, and some of the stars that we have in the sport at this time, you've got Bigfoot, you've got Hess's Hercules, you've got the Nightmare Truck, Crimson Crusher, Mad Dog. I mean, these are big names that people are coming out to see here in Columbus at the Ohio State Fairgrounds. And we didn't mention it on the last broadcast from Columbus. This is the same place where we did the 92 show. Well, we may have mentioned it, but same place. The camera's just on the other side of that pulling track. So we're kind of looking into the fairgrounds with the train tracks behind us in this case.
Round number 1 is going to start off with Nightmare taking on Madman. As we said earlier, Kid Rarig is now driving this truck for day 2. That's what's shown on the graphic right here. Very bouncy passes for both of these trucks. Hess with a particularly hard bounce on the nose after the first set of cars. Each driver appears to cut to the left or right after the cars in their respective lane to try and miss that roller a little bit, to try and get a little bit of an advantage on the driver in the other lane. Hess legs it through no man's land, though, and that Chevrolet horsepower is going to gets the win over the Dodge Madman machine.
Here we go now. Steve Hess the Nightmare going up against Madman. It'll be Chevrolet against Dodge. This is our first heat in our first round of competition. Are you ready? Chevrolet fans, are you ready? There we go. Steve Hess comes off the line. He's not wasting any time. He's on him, and Madman is right in his tail. Here they go, side by side. Steve Hess is really getting bounced around. Madman's got problems. Here goes Steve Hess. Oh, man, does that take your breath away?
Steve Hess and Nightmare win it.
Steve Hess, a great run for him. Steve, whatever you did, it was right because a spectacular run for Nightmare, too.
Well, we had a lot of work to do today. We busted all the hydraulic lines and we busted a tie rod. Tie rod's welded on there. We're just giving it our best shot.
Sort of praying that it holds together.
We sure are.
All right, looked like you really got up awful high on that last jump over the cars. Was that by design?
No, I hit it just a little too hard and got into it a little late.
All right, what will be your strategy going into the other rounds of eliminations?
Got to back out of it just a little bit and just kind of pace the race tonight.
Try to run a little smoother race?
Yeah, a little bit smoother than what we did last night.
All right, you beat Bigfoot's time here tonight. Do you think you got a shot to beat him?
We're going to give it our best shot.
Steve Hess always gives us his best shot. From Roanoke, Indiana, Steve Hess and Nightmare 2.
He pushes it hard, and you could see the pace up from the night before, getting a little bit faster between the cars. They know how hard they can go, and even though the cars are fresh here for day number 2, they're mashing them down in a hurry. Just from qualifying, they're pretty well beat down, and Hess does a number on those last 2 cars in that second set, kind of smashes them all the way down. Thankfully, he's at the finish line at that point.
Yeah, he said that after day 1, they busted hydraulic lines and the tie rod. They actually welded the tie rod on. He's going to try and be a lot smoother throughout the night than that pass right there. Interesting that he would want to be smoother throughout the night. I mean, I know everybody wants to be smooth, don't get me wrong here, but man, his qualifying pass had to be faster than that. I don't know what happened between qualifying and this round right here, but for some reason, Nightmare's all over the place on this pass. It's definitely not smooth as silk like it was apparently in qualifying.
No, he didn't look super great, but he was still fast and good enough to take the win. And here we go into the second race of round number 1, and this is where we're going to
shake hands with danger.
That we are here. Bigfoot versus Hercules. Bigfoot 6 and Hercules right here. And Matt, this is probably one of the most talked about races in the sport's history, as I alluded to in the introduction. Bigfoot's going to be in your far lane. Hercules is in the near lane. And I want to stress before we talk about this race that in the finals the night before, Steve Hess breaks a hydraulic line on a tie rod. He stopped the truck to avoid anyone from being hurt. That should tell you the way that the camera is positioned here on this left side of the track, it doesn't really show you just how close, number 1, the safety hold is, number 2, the grandstands, and number 3, just how close the camera people are to this racetrack.
Everything's pretty tight. We're here in 1988. You know, the MTRA does exist, and they've kind of been consulted, I'm sure, in terms of setting up the course at the time. It's a pretty normal course with the sets of cars, and the people aren't really too close. I mean, you've got probably a good, 30, 35 feet between the sides of the cars and then over to where the fence is, and then the grandstands are further yet beyond it. But we're going to use up just about all that room here in this heat between Bigfoot and Hercules.
Each truck is going to roll the first hill easily. Bigfoot jumps onto the cars, much like it had been the entire weekend. Scott Hess, however, you hear that motor come up, and Scott Hess has found his gear, which is full throttle on the Hercules truck. He jumps that first set of cars, lands on them, and he's nose high in the air. The truck comes down onto the nose a little bit. Man, they are on it. Both trucks are on it through no man's land right here. However, Scott Hess, when he hits that second mini roller hill, the truck jumps up into the air. The front is nose high. It lands. Same thing happened in qualifying the day before over the first set of cars. Here it happens over the mini roller and the second roller on the track. The rear tie rod breaks, and from that point on, there is no control from Scott Hess. He cannot steer this truck. He hits the last jump. It lands hard on the rear end. It bounces up onto the right front tire. He actually rides it on the right front tire for a little bit before the truck finally settles over and rolls over onto what I think is a generator and goes directly through an ESPN camera stand. It actually destroys an ESPN camera as well.
Bigfoot driven by Gene Patterson now, lining up on the east lane.
In the west lane, Hercules 2.
And Gene Patterson, who is not off to his best start tonight, like he was in previous shows, says, I can't back down a bit. I got to put my foot on the accelerator, not waste any time. He would not want to lose to Hercules 2 here tonight. Here we go now, Hercules and Bigfoot side by side. Monster truck racing as they line it up, get ready to hit that accelerator. Ronnie Hughes has the flags up. He's ready to drop the flag. Here we go. They're on it. And here comes Bigfoot. Here comes Hercules. Oh, Chevrolet and Ford. Chevrolet and
And I'm not sure if it was a tie rod issue or a rear steering cylinder issue, because it kind of looks like the steering cylinder's cocked to the left. And to Scott's credit, he had no real time to react to this. The trucks are wide open going through the straight part of the course, and then right before he's heading into the second ramp is when he gets a feel that something may be going wrong. And as Scott heads to the left, we see him go into just as he's hitting the ramp, he locks the front tires up because he realizes he's going out of control. And at that point, the truck is just moving too fast, and he lands on the brakes, which causes the truck to then pivot over onto that right front, and he's just riding the brake at this point. As much as you can, you're heading toward the crowd, and as you said, the truck kind of lays over up against one of the portable light poles that has a generator attached to it, knocks out the camera stand, and the camera we see here focuses in over on Hercules, but that's
It's
only
not
half
all.
the story. That's only half the story. Insert the Billy Mays, but wait, there's more soundbite here, because in the right lane, Patterson's got his own set of problems.
That he does. And Gene, he's on the throttle very hard. He knows the truck in the other lane. He knows the driver in the other lane. He's pushing this truck as incredibly hard as he possibly can. We've talked on this show before how some of the Bigfoot trucks back in the day always wanted to tuck that left front tire in. And that's what happens here with Patterson. He jumps the last set of cars, wins the race, left front tire tucks in, and when it does, the suspension collapses. Bigfoot hikes up onto the nose as well, and then rolls over straight on top of the truck. Incredible double rollover. First in the sport's history right here. First thing to point out, though, Matt, is the Hoosier Dome. I want to point this out. The Hoosier Dome, when Kramer rolls, I believe that was, which Bigfoot was that? Was that 4?
That was Bigfoot 6.
That was Bigfoot 6 as well. Same truck.
Same truck is here. Now, let's go back to that night in Indianapolis, just about, 8-9 months prior. Bob Pell Freeman, who's the shop foreman at the Bigfoot shop, had just welded in the X-brace, not a full roll cage, but it was like an X-braced bar that was behind the driver in the cab for some protection for the truck. Mind you, Bigfoot had only ever rolled one time at this point in Murray, Kentucky, 1 year prior to the day in 1986. So Bob was starting to put a little bit more safety into the trucks, and beyond that, Bigfoot 6 just had a bed-mounted roll bar. And Kramer, when he goes over, granted, it's an end-over-end flip, and the cab completely crushes down except for that area where Bob had put the bracing in, and that pretty much saves Jim Kramer's life. We see how badly the truck is destroyed there. Now, they come back, they rebuild Bigfoot 6, and they put a full cage in the truck. And we see, after this crash is over, how much of a difference that really makes.
All right, folks, mid-edit right here for all of this. Wanted to pipe in this clip. This is actually from the Bigfoot 25th anniversary videotape/DVD that was released years ago. This is Jim Kramer and Bob Chandler talking about this incident between Hercules and Bigfoot 6.
This is higher than usual.
2 trucks at one time. Cameraman don't know where to go here. He's got shooting one or shooting the other, but this guy, he sees both of them.
I think he did a great job. Now, look at this roll cage. This is holding up. This is because of the fact that, as we crashed in the Hoosier Dome, we knew we had to do a better job.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you watch that Bigfoot wreck from the Hoosier Dome, you see that truck is destroyed from head to toe. Jim Kramer very lucky to be alive after that wreck. This accident right here, they've obviously taken notes at the Bigfoot organization, because when they come back for this race, if an accident happens, they are prepared. Bigfoot 6 is sitting on top of the cage. Nothing on the truck is collapsing. It is sitting on the cage as it's rolled over right here. Very fortunate for Gene Patterson as well. I mean, that was a hard accident right there for both of these vehicles. But arguably, Gene took the worst of the hit.
Well, yeah, that could be argued, and I'm going to go back and kind of analyze this Bigfoot crash as it's happening, because even before the second roller, we see the rear steer on Bigfoot kind of look a little wonky. I'm not sure if Gene was trying to adjust the truck. Now, mind you, they didn't have self-centering yet. So they're driving the rear end of the truck manually, and I'm sure that Kramer probably taught Gene how to drive the truck using those carburetors as kind of like a weather vane. If they're looking crooked, then you adjust your rear steering to get back straight. So going into the second roller, we see the rear end's kind of a little bit out of kilter. And then going up, it looks like Gene either maybe tried to correct, or maybe he had a steering cylinder issue too. But right before the ramp, the rear end cocks hard like it would want to go into a right-hand turn. And Gene countersteers that by turning the front end to the left in the air over the jump, and that kind of shovels that front end in. I'm sure that was probably compounded by hitting the brake a little bit, not knowing, what was going through Gene's mind at that time. I'm just a bystander looking at it on video, 33 years later. But there's a lot of things that contribute to this kind of an accident.
We appreciate you coming over here to be interviewed on our ESPN cameras. Tell us, as you best remember, what happened out there on the track, because most people were looking at the other truck that saw Hercules go over, but everybody sort of forgot about you, and we look over there, and there you're upside down. What happened?
Best I can remember is when I come off the last set of cars, the truck went to the left real hard and nosed into the ground. It didn't power out. It seemed like it hung in the ground, and next thing I know, I was laying on my top.
You're okay, I presume?
Yeah, but I hate to make that phone call later on.
Okay, and that, of course, will be to Mr. Bob Chandler in St. Louis, Missouri.
You can't really fault the driver in either case here, because things are going wrong so fast, and it's so new. They didn't know what to do in this kind of a situation back then. There weren't that many crashes. Gene kind of shovels the front end in, and the axle wraps up underneath, kind of puts the truck into an endo, and it lays over on the roof. And as you said, the cage holds up completely.
Jumping in here with another quick edit. I'd actually messaged Gene Patterson before we started recording these episodes, and it took Gene a little bit to get back to me, but when he did give me some insight and some more information on exactly what happened with Bigfoot here on this accident that we had. And I'd like to share some of that with you right now. I'll go ahead and read everything that Gene sent me. We won the first night, but the second night was trouble. Racing Hercules, we pushed the truck as hard as we could, and when it landed on the left front tire, it locked up under the cab, resulting in the truck to flip over pretty fast. I drove like Kramer with my head out the window and no shoulder harness. Stupid at the time, but cool. He puts that in parentheses. After inspection, we found that the center pin holding the spring pack together sheared off, letting the axle move around a lot easier on impact. After that, we went to 3/4 of an inch bolts and started marking the inside of the springs to show that, hey, if another happened to shear, we had a visual line of reference so the crew could check between rounds. Every time an accident happened, we looked into it and we made improvements to make our trucks safer. But would have had a little bit more speed, the suspension might not have collapsed as fast, or we might have been able to pull the truck down. Inexperience didn't help, but back then, side-by-side racing was just starting. If you go back and you watch the footage, you can get a feel for how rough it was. Scott, like many others, would go all out at all costs back then just to beat Bigfoot. Thank you, Gene, for that information, and we hope to get you on this show at some point down the road.
It's a good thing that nobody was hurt in this crash, and man, we'll give another plug for the Monster Truck Hall of Fame here. We got to see this crash from another angle, from the stands, from some home video, and it looks even 10 times worse from that angle with Hess going into that generator. People were bailing out on the camera positions.
Yeah, and they needed to. They need to get the hell out of Dodge. We'll put it that way. It's a camera angle that I'm going to highly doubt that we ever see in public. We'll put it that way. But it was very scary to look at and see exactly what was going on with Hercules in this lane. The camera is so focused on Hercules, you see Bigfoot wrecking in the back, but everybody is wondering what the heck is going on with Hercules, because to be fair, that's the more spectacular rollover from Hercules. Bigfoot's rollover is almost unnoticeable for a little bit until everybody's like, hey, look, he rolled too.
I mean, what do you do in that situation? There's only so many track officials, and you don't expect something like this to happen.
It's still not expected to happen even today.
Between that, and then also you factor in the fact that the Hercules crash is involving the crowd, potentially. So that's where everybody really heads first to make sure everybody's okay there. Dave Grimm is telling everybody to please stay back, let the officials get to the truck. And thankfully, again, this is one of the best instances, and we're going to go ahead and spin this into a positive because it's a tragic, potentially tragic situation, but it shows the value of the Monster Truck Racing Association, which is in its infancy at this time and just starting to establish some of these rules for roll cage construction and safety features and wearing the proper protective gear. And none of these drivers are hurt. Nobody in the stands are hurt because the proper precautions were taken for the fans in the stands. Only those that were working the event were in any kind of danger, and they were able to get out of the way in time. So it's really a testament to how they had things set up here. And you could see that everybody is really shaken by the circumstances. Gene comes out. He looks a little bit dazed. We see the camera operator. Everybody's okay, so I can make a joke. He's a ginger. He had no soul anyway. But he's doing okay. He looks a little bit, taken aback and kind of breathing deeply.
ESPN cameraman Johnny Lineberger from Victory Films walks away with only a few scratches. A broken television camera and a crushed camera stand were the only casualties, according to our narrator right here. I like the way this is done. I'm not necessarily a fan of the music that they play in behind all of this.
Oh, it's dramatic.
It's definitely dramatic, but it sounds like it's almost like a funeral march to me. It's a weird tone sounding music. I love how Dave Grimm is known for this action-packed style of broadcasting. He's 120%. It's like he drank 16 Monster Energy before he jumps out there on the track to announce it. Here, he is so calm on the microphone. Please, everyone, stay back. Very calmly saying this to everyone. Keeping everybody, I know everybody's adrenaline's got to be pumping at this point, regardless of what happens. But that calm, soothing voice of Dave Grimm really eases us down in tone.
Well, it shows you the professional that Dave Grimm is. He's putting on a show when he's announcing, but when things get serious, and it's time to not really put on the show anymore. And what I think is pretty cool here is they show some different camera angles and clips of this kind of picture-in-picture style, and we get to see a side shot of Bigfoot going over those cars, and then it kind of cuts, and I'm wondering if that's the camera that ended up biting the dust because Johnny Lineberger had to bail out of the camera stand at that point.
I believe that is. I heard that years ago that was the camera angle. Right about the time he's focusing on Bigfoot, he sees out of the corner of his eye Hercules and then just drops the camera. And from that point on, we don't know what happened from that footage, where that footage goes to. We just see Bigfoot still right there. Gene Patterson's interviewed. He says the truck went to the left, it nosed hard into the ground, and it did not power out. Next thing he knew, he was on his top. Credit to Hart Productions for showing Gene's side of the accident to the best of their ability. Like I said, picture-in-picture zooming in right there. We get the same treatments for Hercules a little bit later. This whole segment, this whole crash, this whole race takes up almost 5 minutes of this broadcast, Matt, and it's no wonder that they spend so much time on this. The rest of the show does feel a little bit rushed from this point because they spend so much time talking about this, but the safety element here. Yes, it was a horrific accident. Yes, there were some people dodging to get out of the way. The main thing they wanted to bring to the table for everybody to know is, yes, we had this horrible accident here, but everyone walked away and no one was hurt.
They did, and they show actually on Scott Hess's replay I'm watching here, they show the night one qualifying run on the replay.
Yes.
So if you missed it last week, you get to see how far the truck nosed over in qualifying on night one there, and then they kind of go back to the race footage. And man, you could tell that Scott's kind of rattled as well, but thankfully he's okay. And boy, the next thing that I see here in your notes is they got to flip these trucks back over.
Yeah, now they got to figure out the other thing. How are we going to get these trucks back over here? They get Hercules over fairly easily, but when they go to hook Bigfoot, they've got it hooked more towards the rear axle. So when the truck flips back over from the roll cage, they actually end up dragging the truck a little bit. The chain slides, the truck is pulled versus being pulled over onto the tires. So a little bit of extra damage there for Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah. Talk about adding insult to injury. Again, this is kind of a new thing. They don't really know how to flip these trucks back over yet either very well. So kind of pulling Bigfoot along, knocking a man when he's down. Boy, I'd hate to have been Gene that night having to make the call to Bob that we wrecked the truck. And
that's one thing Gene says in his interview as well. He's going to hate making that phone call a little bit later in the evening.
But
I will say, though, Bigfoot's already stubbed its toe, and now they're pulling his Achilles tendon basically when they yank the truck back over.
That's one of those phone calls where you start off by saying, well, first of all, Bob, I want to tell you everybody's okay.
Yeah.
And then, things just kind of progress from there. But as you said, we're going to kind of rush through the rest of the broadcast here. We're going to do the best we can to explain what's happening. Who do we got up next, finally, after we've got this accident taken care of?
After everything is cleaned up, we cut to Star Monster and Crimson Crusher. You could see these two drivers were taking it rather easy on this pass. They were still a little bouncy, but they were nowhere near as quick or as fast as Bigfoot and Hercules. I'm pretty sure both these drivers got a little bit spooked by watching what they had just seen right there. Pretty even race, though, between these two here. Star Monster hangs in there with Crimson Crusher. Crimson Crusher actually comes back late to take the win here at the line by about a half a truck length. Star Monster looking very stout here, and it appears to have not completely eliminated the front to rear bounce, but they've seemed to have worked it out a little bit between day one and day two.
The second round continued with Dan Tassone in Star Monster facing off against Crimson Crusher with Dale Hancock at the wheel. It was a well-matched heat with both super trucks neck and neck off the first pile of cars. Crimson Crusher had a narrow lead at the midpoint and pushed ahead to win it by only a few feet.
And this is a really good race.
Yes, it is.
The trucks, they kind of swapped the lead a couple times. There's a point at which Star Monster looks like he may be in the lead off the first set of cars, but coming down to the end, the slight advantage to Crimson Crusher into the second set gets the job done for Dale Hancock going into the next round.
Yep, Crimson Crusher is going to be going into round number 2. Round number 1 is going to finally round off here with Mad Dog and the Ohio Earthshaker. Races are coming at us at a fast pace right now. Like I said, 5 minutes of the broadcast was dedicated to Bigfoot and Hercules rollover. This is a half-hour broadcast, so they've got to speed things along right here. Mad Dog's going to be in the far lane. He gets the whole shot as Earthshaker takes it very easy over the first roller. Mad Dog's going to go on to take the win, as really Ohio Earthshaker just wasn't in this race at all from the start.
John Breen and Mad Dog were up next against Dale Hassel in the Ohio Earthshaker. The Earthshaker hesitated off the line, and Mad Dog took the lead all the way for an easy win. John Breen won a spot in the next round and a shot at the finals. Let's get set now for the first heat of the second round of competition.
No, it really wasn't, and we quickly shoot to a really cool shot of a jetliner up in the air heading over the event center here, the Ohio State Fairgrounds, as sun is starting to set.
That it is, just like the day before. Round number 2 is going to take place mostly in the dark. Nightmare and Star Monster. Star Monster's coming back as your fast loser here, and he's going to be taking on our quick qualifier, Nightmare. Nightmare has a bit more of a race than he bargained for, I think, right here, as Tassone had earlier in the weekend. He'd been fighting, like I said, the front to rear bounce with this truck. They appeared to have it worked out by the time this race starts right here. These two trucks are even down the track, with Nightmare laying down that big engine to pull out the victory through no man's land. Another really tight race here for Star Monster, and it's going to show you that hard work does pay off. I imagine they had to do something to this truck from the start of the weekend, because whenever you watched it at the first race that it did, that truck is bouncing so hard front to rear, and now it's competing with one of the top trucks in the country by the end of the weekend.
All right, here we go now, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be Nightmare against Star Monster. This is going to be wild. This is going to be woolly. They're going to go for it all. It'll be GMC against Chevrolet. Pick your favorites. Here we go. It's going to be wild.
Nightmare beat out Bigfoot as the fastest qualifier of the evening. He's been plagued with breakdowns all season, but this may be his night.
In the right lane, it'll be Nightmare 2. Here comes Star Monster. In the east lane, they're up and over.
Yeah, and it's a really, really close race again. We're shaping up to have some really good matchups here, and you could tell the speed's picking back up again quickly, because Nightmare, Steve Hess just sends it into that second set of cars pretty much as hard as he can, trying to make up the time, and things kind of go sideways a little bit quickly, and Hess had to really be spooked at this instance.
He had to be spooked for a couple of reasons. Number one, yes, he has a really wild ride at the end of the track right here. This is the first time he's been in this lane for a while. now, and it's a hard lane to run in. We've stated that last week. It's definitely this week as well. He gets sideways. He spins out at the end of the track after bouncing it up onto the nose. But 2 or 3 weeks prior to this in Allentown, he breaks off the left front tire and almost goes over.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's having a couple brushes here where the truck almost goes over, but he's able to keep it on, well, all 3 or all 4 wheels, depending on the situation. And, I mean, we're talking about what's basically kind of a hybrid between a stage 1 and a stage 2 monster truck here. I mean, he's got planetaries, but it's a segmented steel body on a reinforced factory frame here with Nightmare 2. And, boy, the truck really holds up well for the way that it's built. You know, initially was kind of more of a show truck, and Steve's out there racing it hard with the best of them, and really, really lucky that the truck diffed out the way that it did and kind of let the momentum carry him forward instead of completely pivoting on that front end.
Exactly. Steve says his heart's beating a little bit faster after that one, as we get an excellent slow motion shot right here by Hart Productions as Steve is talking during his interview. I love that shot. We skip to the next race, though. Wild Hair. They spell it Hare instead of Hair, like they had the previous day.
Wild Harambe, almost.
Exactly. There we go. Crimson Crusher, obviously, in the other lane. It seems like no matter what Crimson Crusher does, it's going to end up racing a Breen in the other lane this weekend. Wild Hair slow off the line, but catches up and makes it look like all the passes he did the day before, really. He was slow off the line, but by the end of the track, the top end had kicked in. Through no man's land, Wild Hair takes a truck length advantage and never looks back. This is Wild Hair's race.
The second heat of round 2 will feature a rookie versus an old-timer. Newcomer Bob Breen in the Wild Hair, going against veteran Dale Hancock in Crimson Crusher.
Wild Hair, here he comes off the line, a little slow. A slow start for Wild Hair. And Dale Hancock with Crimson Crusher has taken the early lead. But here comes Wild Hair. Wild Hair is caught up. It's a dead heat. And it looks like Wild Hair has done it. Oh, my word. Wild Hair, who set at least 3 seconds on the starting line and barely moved, caught him by the mid part of the race and finished him off in the end in almost a dead heat here tonight. Wild and crazy in Columbus, Ohio here tonight. Wild Hair continues to look strong.
I mean, the star of this race has got to be Bob Breen.
Bob Breen.
That's what I said.
I got to tell you, he's some kind of monster. If I throw back to an old YouTube video, folks, I might play some more audio from that.
I don't know who put that together, but it was pretty funny.
Bob Breen, Bob Breen, Bob Breen, oh my God, Bob Breen, Bob Breen, Bob Breen, yes. Bob Breen.
Michael Disroach put that together. I know the man that did that, and he did an excellent job of it. Now, the winner of this race, though, is going to have the title of Mad the rest of their life. Mad Dog versus Mad Man. So we've got a Mad Man and a Mad Dog. Got to find some middle ground here of who's the maddest.
Yeah. Mirror, mirror, who's on the wall? Who's the maddest of them all?
Yeah, there we go. Tom Bites is announced as the driver here, even though in round number 1 it was listed as Kid Rarig. I don't know why, but hey, we're working off of the seat of our pants right here at this point in the show.
Chris Mormanis, we need a ruling. Who was driving?
Madman is out of the race the moment that it noses into the front cars right there. Of course, he's in the near lane. Guess what's back from the day before? That hole. As soon as Madman jumps, it lands directly into that hole.
Yeah, this time it's the 4th car in the left-hand lane that's kind of causing an issue for Madman. The car is just getting so mashed down with each run. You can see how flattened they are, and they're really getting rough. But the right lane kind of hanging tough still. The second set of cars looking a little rough for Mad Dog as he goes over, but at that point, he's so far ahead it doesn't matter.
Brothers have both of their trucks left in competition here tonight.
Here's John Breen up next in Mad Dog.
The other half of the Breen Boys racing team. It'll be John Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri, a 454 Chevrolet in a 1986 Chevrolet Blazer. How do you like this one? Mad Dog going against Mad Man. A couple of mad vehicles out here tonight. Mad Man is driven by Tom Bites out of Catawissa, Pennsylvania. Hit the 1979 Dodge in a 1970 supercharged 440 Dodge engine. He's got a 4-speed Allison 66-inch high Goodyear Terra tires. This would be quite an upset if the Dodge beat the Chevrolet here tonight. Here they go now. It's almost a dead heat. so far. And here comes John Reed and Mad Dog. Mad Dog continues on. Mad Dog with an easy win here tonight as he comes over the cars.
Yeah, John Breen wins it in a cakewalk, according to Dave Grimm. So we move on to our semifinals here. Nightmare and Wild Hair.
The rhyming is uncanny.
Yeah, I agree right here. Not sure how true it is, but this is where we get told this is actually Bob Breen's second weekend ever behind the wheel of a monster truck. And here he is in the semifinals against Steve Hess, one of the top trucks in the country, really. Nightmare's going to get a whole shot, while Wild Hair in the other lane. And I'm not sure if you've seen a worst bounce from a Breen truck, but I don't recall ever seeing a Breen truck have that bad of a bounce on the cars. Wild Hair bounces so hard that it is out of the race from that point.
The first heat of the semifinal round will feature Steve Hess in Nightmare. He lost a front wheel in Allentown 2 weeks ago, but that hasn't stopped him from pushing his rig to the limit tonight. He'll have to face Bob Breen in Wild Hair, running in only his second competition as a monster truck driver.
Hang out Chevrolet against Chevrolet. Here we go. The heartbeat of America. This is what it's for here tonight. Here comes Nightmare. Here comes Wild Hair. Nightmare is on it. Nightmare is on it, but here he goes. Wild Hair, Nightmare. Oh, wow. Woo! Well, things are really beginning to heat up now as we're into the semifinals. Wild Hair with Bob Breen driving was the favorite here in Columbus, but Nightmare 2, driven by Steve Hess in Indiana, came through in the end. Bob Breen got off the side of the track here and had caused a lot of people to jump the fence here, myself included. But Nightmare drove a smart race, and he will be in the finals.
It's that fourth car in the left lane once again, just a big old hole, and it messes the steering up, all kinds of issues for Bob Breen in Wild Hair on this one. He's already a truck length behind coming off the first set of cars. Nightmare has some issues, and had Breen not been in such trouble, he maybe could have stole a win away here, but Steve Hess is the lucky man of the night so far, heading into the finals. Even still, the second half of the run, not fantastic. He gets hung up in a big hole in the second set of cars in the right lane, it looks like, in the back shot of the camera there in the background. So crazy race overall. Bob Breen kind of pulls it in and is able to finish the course, but well behind the Nightmare Chevrolet.
Dave Grimm actually says after the race is completed here that it was a surprise that Nightmare won. Bob Breen was the favorite this afternoon. I don't think I've ever heard that statement before. Bob Breen being the favorite in a monster truck race. No,
Dave Grimm loves Bob Breen, though.
Oh my God, Bob Breen!
Nothing against Bob Breen. Man's a fantastic driver, but I would have never thought that he would have been considered the favorite in this field. Mad Dog and Buffalo Trimmer, your next pair here. Another Breen. Let's see if John has a little bit better luck. Wait, time out. Hold on. Where did Buffalo Trimmer come from?
Well, I think we missed a race or two in this first round due to time availability. We didn't get to see the Alien run either. Maybe he beat the Alien in round number one. I'm not really sure. I don't have the home video footage that we had mentioned earlier available to me to see how this really went. So I'm guessing Buffalo Trimmer either beat somebody or came back as a fast loser here in round number one, because we're missing, one or two of the trucks we didn't get to see tonight here on the broadcast in race number two.
Yeah, and I can only be assumed as exactly what we said earlier with the 5 minutes that they spent describing what happened with Bigfoot and Hercules here. Our quarterfinals was actually Kwasniewski defeating Hassel in the Ohio Earthshaker. That's what put Kwasniewski into the semifinal round right here. Interesting to note, though, Kwasniewski did not race according to any of the results that I had found online in round one. Neither did Alien. So, not sure what was going on there, but somehow John Kwasniewski makes it to the semifinals here against Mad Dog. And I got to say, it's quickly announced, like I said on the broadcast, that Tremor puts away the Ohio Earthshaker to get here. However, this is the first time we've seen him all bracket. Where as soon as I saw this, I was like, wait, I had to shake my head. I did say, where did Kwasniewski come from? Well, here he is. Mad Dog's going to get the whole shot on him, though. And notice Mad Dog far lane. Kwasniewski stuck over here in the near lane. Tremor has some bad bouncing in the rear end after the first set of cars, which really seals the deal for Mad Dog to take the win right here. Mad Dog, though, again, I said earlier, Bob Breen had a wild bounce. Mad Dog has another really, really rough bounce after the finish line right here. He digs the right front tire into those cars. Honestly, I thought he broke the truck by rewatching this back. The truck is fine, but man, what a hit.
Monster Truck Master John Breen in the legendary Mad Dog. This is the first monster rig designed and built especially for this type of obstacle course racing, light and fast. He'll be going out against John Kwasniewski in Buffalo Tremor. He put away the Ohio Earthshaker to win his spot in the semis, and he's determined to go all the way.
Here we go now. It's the Buffalo Tremor against Mad Dog. We're ready to do battle. Here we go. One of these trucks is going to go to the finals. Here comes Mad Dog. Here comes Buffalo Tremor. Mad Dog, Buffalo Tremor. Mad Dog, Buffalo Tremor. Here we go. Oh, look at the cars. Look at the cars. Oh, my word.
Nasty hit there. It's the hole in the cars again. They're creeping up in the right lane now. In that second set, if you land in the right spot, it threw Mad Dog completely back up out of the set of cars. And we get a quick edit here back to Dave Grimm, and they're setting up for the semifinals. And we get kind of a cool little setup here. Heading into they're calling it the final.
Yep.
It is the final going on the Challenger Power. It's Nightmare versus Mad Dog, and we see the still shots. I think that's pretty cool with the driver in the truck.
Yeah, I thought that was a really unique thing that they did right there that they did not do in the previous round or the previous day. We didn't have a screenshot showing the driver's headshot right there with its name off to the side. We just had, hey, here's your final. Here they get a nice little presentation for the final round before they bring out the actual race. We got Nightmare and Mad Dog. Nightmare is going to be in that far lane, the favored lane. Near lane is Mad Dog. Each lane probably at this point you could argue is even. However, the bad bounce for everybody in the right lane is coming at the finish line, whereas the bad bounce for everybody in the left lane is coming on this first set of cars right here, and it's putting that person in that lane severely behind. Hole shot's going to go to Mad Dog. However, what happens? Hole in the cars. Mad Dog bounces hard to the left. He stays on the throttle, though. He's going to make a damn race out of this, by God. And John Breen comes back. However, not quite hard enough as Nightmare takes a smooth pass. You don't really get to see all that much Nightmare's pass, by the way. You just see the finish line jump. They both hit the jump. Nightmare's going to go on to take the win.
Well, here we go now. It's the finals. They're going to come right back. They're not going to let these engines cool down at all. It'll be Nightmare, driven by Steve Hess out of Roanoke, Indiana, with this beautiful Chevrolet. He finished second at the earlier contest, and tonight he's got a great shot to win. He'll be going against a veteran, experienced driver, the driver for Mad Dog, John Breen, out of Jefferson City, Missouri. He's done everything in monster truck racing, a real pro. It'll be Chevrolet against Chevrolet, a real heads-up battle, and may the best truck win. Here we go. All right, they're bringing him out of the staging lanes right now. It'll be Mad Dog on the right lane. It'll be Nightmare on the left lane. We're ready to do battle. Both of these drivers are accomplished drivers. Either one of them would just love to win here tonight. They're going to go all out. The green flag is down. Here we go. Nightmare, Mad Dog. We are on it. Here, oh, Mad Dog is getting over the side of the car. Here we go. Nightmare. Well, look at him go. Look at him go. Up, up, and over. And Nightmare is going to win. All right, down there with all the dust and the smoke and the dirt, it looks like Nightmare edged it out. Mad Dog had some problems here. Here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, the heartbeat of America. Today's Chevy truck, Nightmare, here he is, your winner. Steve Hess, congratulations for winning, and I guess I got to say all that work today was worth it.
It was. It's good to be in the winner's circle for a change. I'll tell you, second place for a long time. To get first place is great.
I'll tell you, the 2 hours here tonight in Columbus, Ohio, had to seem like 6 hours to you.
It did. I'll tell you, after that last run, we about put it over sideways. I was ready to give up, but it came back around. That side was running good, and we're real happy to be in the winner's circle.
Okay, well, congratulations. You got a lot of fans here from the Hoosier State. They love you here in Buckeye Land. Again, congratulations. All right, let's bring in our second place finisher right now. And here's a guy, I think if you get beat by Steve Hess, John Breen, you still got to feel pretty good finishing second place.
Oh, that's right. He's a tough competitor, and I got a little bit of crooked, and I just backed off, and I'm just going to let her go at that.
I tell you, you got a big smile on your face. You'd like to have a rematch of this again, wouldn't you?
Yeah, on the other lane.
On the other lane. Well, I tell you, congratulations. A good run tonight. And best of luck on your next race.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, John Breen out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Very popular here in Columbus as well.
Mad Dog makes up a ton of time in the second half of the course. I mean, he finishes, maybe within a truck length of Nightmare here at the finish, and he was really, really behind at mid-track. So credit to John Breen for making up the time. It was just too much to overcome off of that first hit on this first set of cars.
Yeah, way too much to overcome. And by that point, the truck as smooth as Nightmare is in the other lane, I mean, you could barely see it in the camera angle that we saw with Breen bouncing off to the left really hard after hitting that hole in the cars. You could barely see Nightmare in the other lane actually jumping, landing, and driving off of the cars, much like Breen was doing the day before. Here, Breen not able to do that. He jumps into that hole, and it cost him a ton of time, which, to his credit, he makes up a ton of it, just not quite enough to get there at the finish line.
Yeah, we see a crowd shot of some very excited fans in Columbus, and then I'm going to pull a Gary Lee quote out. Then, out of the void,
out of the void, we see Steve Hess and Nightmare coming out. And I got to tell you, that, my friend, is an excellent shot of Nightmare coming back through all of that dust, all of that. It's like he's coming back from war. He just drives straight through the middle of the track, followed by Mad Dog a little bit later, Steve Parks, and he is a happy man. He has taken so many second places here lately. It's nice to be in the winner's circle for a change.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool shot. I mean, coming out of that smoke and the dust and the darkness, and your victor on this night in Columbus coming down as Steve Hess in the Nightmare Chevrolet. And we get the final winners interview here with Dave Grimm.
Yep, and both of these drivers notably wearing Hart Productions hats at the end of this. I thought that was kind of a good little sponsor placement right there for the production company putting on the show. Very nice. Steve, like I said, very happy. It's good to be in the winner's circle for the change. Giving him having the truck spun sideways earlier in the night. He didn't think he was going to be able to do it. However, hard work paid off, and he took home the W. John Breen, on the other hand, though, as he's being interviewed, no shame in losing to a guy like Steve Hess. However, John would like to have him rematch, and he points over to the other lane. He says, yeah, I want it over there. He wanted that lane over there. He wanted that far lane. He did not want this near lane. He thinks the race probably could have been a little bit better had he had that good lane.
Yeah, who knows if the roles were reversed, how this would have ended up. I think it would have been an even closer race, maybe even a Mad Dog victory. Who knows? But that's why they run the race, to see who's going to be the winner. And we kind of wrap up here from night 2 in Columbus. And man, an incredible show, and I really wish that I could get that Challenge of Power to buffer out a little bit better, because they don't quite spend as much time on that Bigfoot Hercules crash, which allows them to show some more of the other runs in the night, including the qualifying. But hey, I think the broadcast we got here wasn't too bad overall. Maybe a little tough on the editing, though.
Yeah, a little tough on the editing, but man, you want to take a look at a time capsule for 1988 monster truck racing, this is it right here. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most replayed races I think I personally have ever watched. And I know the highlight of Hercules and Bigfoot has been played so many times over the years. It's still getting played today.
Yeah, I mean, just an incredible situation. And again, thankful that everybody came out of it okay. And we want to make sure that we focus on that, because this is how we prevent those kinds of accidents from happening in the future, as we learn from our past.
That is right. I have personally witnessed a double rollover twice, and I'm very lucky to have witnessed a double rollover twice. Once inside of the St. Louis Edward Jones Dome. I believe it was Monster Mutt and Overkill Evolution Racing. They both roll over in the first turn. And I believe the second one was Bigfoot and Rammunition at the Indianapolis Fairgrounds for the Indianapolis Jamboree. It was a very tight points battle that weekend, and they raced each other to the wire, and both trucks rolled over on this S course that they had after the finish line, and it was insane. It was still one of my highest moments of, oh my God, in monster truck history, of me running around like my eyes are bugging out of my head. I can't believe I'd seen what I just saw, kind of things. I can only imagine what that crowd is feeling, because just watching the footage of it makes my adrenaline pump. Just watching, it's like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. It's something that is so rare in this sport.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to see it twice. I doubt I ever see it again.
I haven't got to see it at all, so you got me beat there.
I get to beat twice right there.
Well, how are we going to rate this one this week, Josh?
This one, and I had a struggle rating. I initially rated both of these shows the same rating at about a 6, but just by talking about this event even more than we did here on day number 2, I've got to bump it up at least another half a point. I've got to give it a 7 overall, just because of how much emphasis. Yes, they have this tragic accident, but they show you exactly what they did to overcome it, and I love the fact that they spent so much time doing that.
Last show here in Columbus, I gave that episode a 5. I'm going to give this one the 5.5. A little bit better in terms of the way they kept things moving. I thought it felt a little rushed at times, but I think the announcing is a little better. Dave's a little bit more, not subdued, but more normal. He's not as over the top as he often is.
He only had 10 monsters for day 2.
Yes.
He had 20 for day 1.
Well, it's 1988. There may have been some other substances involved. Who knows? But they do a good job. You can only do so much with the broadcast the way that it was recorded, right? We're doing a live to tape type of thing where we're also using the live event announcer as our TV voice, which that makes things very difficult to balance because the two audiences are completely different. At home, you kind of want a little bit more talking because you can always talk over the trucks in the production room if you're doing it that way. Whereas in a live setting, you can't really talk over the trucks, and you have to kind of let the events happen and then comment on them either before or after. So I think despite the difficulty of that, they strike a decent balance in this show, using the voiceover very sparingly. And I was never a big fan of that Power Tracks or Challenge of Power voiceover guy in the first place. I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Bill Lineberger. Who knows? I don't know that much about the production, but that's why I'm still going to give this a 5.5, which I feel was a little generous, but we're working with the time that we have too. It was a different time in terms of TV production. Yeah,
very different time. That's kind of why we'll put it this way. Money rounds up over time. Inflation happens. That's what happened here with my rating, and inflated just a little bit. Of course, next week, though, here on the Retro Monster Truck Review, as always, we're going to be talking the Monster Trucks 2000, the new Thrillenium. Matt, I can't wait for that one.
UPN, I think that was on in like every major market in America. We can't miss it.
Cannot miss it at all. I cannot wait. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you really enjoyed this one. This is a special episode. Like we said, this is one of the most highlighted events in monster truck racing history, one of the most highlighted accidents in monster truck racing history. Glad you guys stuck around, and glad you guys wanted to listen to this one with us as well. And we will see you all again very soon on these tracks across America.
Scott Hess's initials are SH. That also stands for Steel Huevos.
Good night, everybody.